that was interesting.
With
That was tricky. Woo!
I remember what that was, but sorry, guys.
That's all right. Look, I'm Mike DiLisio. I was gonna come up with some witty, but I'm not. I'm just gonna introduce myself.
So
I'm Mike DiLisio.
I'm gonna pull a Mike DiLisio here, and I'm gonna rest my glasses right here. I'm Chris Yee.
I have no glasses. I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
I have good vision.
Oh no, I had surgery twice.
Well, this has gotten friendly very quickly. Welcome back to another Dice Tower Top 10. Today we're going to be doing one that is a topic.
I agree.
A topic that has been covered before, but by a trio other than the three of us. So Tom and Z and Rodney Smith from Watch It Played did this a few years back, The Enemies of Gaming. And while I'm aware of it, and I might have watched it at one point, I was very careful not to revisit it before I made my list.
I made my list, and then I watched the video just to make sure I wasn't completely off base. I was like, okay, good.
So I did something similar. I had about half my list, and I was like, all right, this is my gut reactions, you know, and I think I had like 7 or 8. And then I watched just the first like 5 minutes of the video, same thing, just to make sure I'm not off base. And I was like, all right, turn it off, and then I'm good from there.
Oh, okay.
And I will say this is the, I think, longest it's ever taken me to put together a top 10. The longest, because I got so angry, I had to like step away from it. There was a big emotional journey in making this top 10.
It took you on a journey.
This was a tough one because it's not a standard list, right? It's not like you can't just go to your bread and butter of picking out a game and being like, oh, there we go. This one was one that I talked to you a little bit about this. We didn't get into too much detail about it because we didn't want to mess up our list. But I feel like because of the jobs that we do, working with board games, that maybe our perspective might be a little bit different. I do know that many of these items would have been on my list before I started working as on a board game channel, but some of them did. Some of them I think are more specific to being in this job.
Yes, I agree. And I think some of them, though, came about because of this job and just having the amount of exposure that we have. It really brought awareness to it. You know, when there's certain things that we're trying to look for, you know, making those judgments based on a box. And there's one that actually, I told you about this one, so I'll share it. My number 11, I left off the list because I didn't know how to bring it in, but I was like, my number 11 was board game reviewers. We're the number enemy, because I was like, I think it just kind of puts everybody else. It's our job. That's what we do.
You ruined my list.
Oh, is it?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's what we do for our jobs. And I think sometimes from before I had this job, while I loved the information of it, it was sometimes like, oh, it forced me to look at it as a reviewer instead of just enjoying the game. You know, so that's the other thing I try to look at is like, hey, if I wasn't in this job, looking back in that, mindset.
I didn't have a number 11 until about 20 seconds ago.
Is it me?
A couple of yahoos over here. My number 11 is the Be Real app. They're over there doing some kind of
they already did
calisthenics over here.
They Be Real earlier.
Yeah.
He Be Real late.
Yeah, you gotta be real on time, otherwise you're fake.
Oh my gosh.
It's time to get real. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got nowhere to go but up. So let's go ahead and get started with our number 10. All right. My number 10 is something that probably would not have been on my list. This is a hint. This would probably not have been on my list 10 years ago. 10 to 12 years ago.
Jeez, I can't even remember the 1980s anymore, Mike.
Small text?
Small text on board, baby! That's right!
Oh my gosh.
You get a couple surgeries, Mike.
Yeah.
It works for some people.
You got to get your jeweler's loop to bring it with you to the table. Look.
Love this.
So here's the thing. I was blessed. You guys were talking, and I do mean this. I'm not joking. I never needed glasses my whole life.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up, one of the few things that I kind of hit the genetic lottery on was I had good eyesight from a kid all the way up until my 40s. All through the years of teaching, never needed glasses, poring over all the grade books and all this stuff. But I got us to a certain point where I just started struggling to see things up close. And now, it's old people problems indeed, Loopy. Now, I look at the preponderance of tiny print on cards.
Yeah.
And on other pieces too, game board as well, but it's usually cards are the biggest culprit. And to compound that, oftentimes it's done in such a way that not only is it small, but they haven't done the graphic design well enough to make the text pop on the card.
Right,
Oh my gosh.
yes.
And so it's like, I have been to gaming groups where people literally, granted it is, with older folks, but they'll have magnifying glasses at the table. You shouldn't need a magnifying glass to play a board game unless you're playing the crime one. Micro Macro.
Right. Yeah.
But otherwise, please,
Yes.
publishers, do us all a solid. Even if you're not old and have bad eyes, you oftentimes need to be able to see what people have on their cards across the table.
If nothing else, it's draining. You know, we've all played those games where you just kind of have that headache or that fog afterward because you were inadvertently squinting or just looking really hard, trying to repeatedly read that bad text or that small text. Or been there.
Even if it means you might have to shrink your awesome piece of art a little bit.
Yes.
That is also true,
Because one of my pet peeves is when you have a card with a bunch of smushed tiny text and this much art on the card.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you could clearly do that. And I'm not talking about flavor text. I don't care. Whatever. That's great. But for cards that for text you need to play the game on the card, make it a readable font.
I like Hannah Beards' recommendation. Just every game should come with a monocle.
That's true. Yeah, that would also work as well. I might knock up the price a little bit. What are monocles going for nowadays? I don't know. It's been a couple of weeks since I purchased one.
There's a shortage of them.
Is there?
There's a shortage.
Oh, okay. Well, the supply chain issues. Look, all the people waiting for the boats to come in filled with monocles. All right, that's my number 10. Small text on cards.
Is you.
That's me.
It's you.
I forget. We go this way for that and that way for that. Oh my goodness. All right. My number 10 is something that has been annoying me more and more recently. I talked earlier about, pre or post board game reviewer, and now, I didn't know you, so hold on. That comes later.
Chris Yee is my number 10.
No, he's much higher. But no, it's inaccurate play times in games.
Oh,
and this really bothers me because if you know that you have a limited time, you've set up a game night, right? And you know that you have 4 hours because you have to get the kids home to bed, or because it's dinner time, or because you have ADHD and can't sit down, whatever your reason may be, and it says 2 hours. All right, you sit down thinking, all right, plus teach 2.5, maybe 3 hours. You're giving it some, maybe snacks, something like that. Then you're 5 hours later, you're still sitting there. That's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
Maybe a little soft pass for the first time you play the game, but by the second and third time, if I'm still not even close to that play time, it makes me so mad. I played a game of this recently, and the different scenarios had individual play times. And so if I'm and it was wildly off. I think one said it was supposed to be a 45-minute, and I did it, and I knew the game already, and it was a 2-hour game. And it's like, then why even give me anything for this scenario? If you're doing it scenario specific, so I can sit down and plan my night. Oh, I was so mad.
This is going to be bad. We're at number 10, and she's
and
already her veins are popping out of her
head. It took me a long time. I had to take breaks from the emotional breaks. Maybe
Deep
a little
cleansing
therapy.
breath
But
in.
that's okay. Breathe, Mike.
And really.
Who's Fraba?
Yeah. So
that's going to be your
for
favorite.
the love of all things holy, tell me an accurate game time. I don't care if it's 16 hours. I know what I'm going into then.
And I like a range too. Like when something says 2 to 3, I'm like, cool.
I'm good with that.
I can actually plan for that in my life.
Yeah, it's also nice when they put per player. They'll put 20 minutes per player.
Yeah.
All right, well, I can handle that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. My number, whatever, 10.
Wherever we're at.
Wherever we are.
I'm so angry.
I'm still mad. Bad, inaccurate play times.
All right. My number 10 is related to one of the things that you said just now, actually.
Chris is enemy number 1.
Yeah. What number 1? Don't spoil the list.
Spoiled.
No, so my number 10 is related to something that you said kind of in passing. Right?
Okay.
My number 10 enemy of gaming is young children. And I want to clarify something.
Coming in hot, baby.
And I want to clarify
Wow.
something on this. You might be thinking that I'm talking about like kids destroying games or a record or whatever. It's not really that.
No, it's just kids existing.
No.
is
It's
the
just kids
issue.
existing. It really
Right.
is,
The
yeah.
existence of
Take 'em all
small
out.
children is the biggest enemy
Yes.
of gaming.
100% do not recommend.
Shout out Haba Games!
But like you said they're trying to plan. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I have to plan a game that's quick enough that I can get my kids to bed.
Yeah.
Or guess what? When you have a kid, when you have a young children, your gaming dynamic is going to change drastically. You're going to be able to play games
Right.
less often. And I'm this is a little bit tongue in cheek. All three of us here are parents.
Yes, of course.
Right.
Right, yes,
It just is
absolutely.
going to shift responsibility.
It
Your
is, yeah.
hobby is going to have to take a back seat.
Yeah.
And so this is more on like a like, ooh, I want to get games to the table. But also, guess what? I'm tired all the time.
Right, yeah.
It's so nice that my daughter's now old enough that we can play games together as a family. But like when a kid's like, 12 months old, 14,
Right.
15
Yeah.
months old, they're not.
It plans your life.
Yeah.
It's like mealtime, nap time, mealtime, bedtime, wake up in the middle of the night time to go to the bathroom
Yeah.
15 times. You know what I mean? Like your day
gosh,
is
yeah.
planned around the kid's schedule.
So you're setting up a tableau of 10 cards in front of you. The end game's going to be... the knives are over there! Just cut it
Feel
yourself!
free to run.
Oven at 450. So, yeah, it's an issue.
It is, I mean, issue. I mean, I'm walking about this cautiously, saying like being a parent is one of the most satisfying things in my life. Blah blah
Right,
blah.
yes. I
right,
do
for
like my
posterity's
child
sake.
and love him.
But it just is, and it's not gonna just change your own gaming dynamic. But if you're part of a game group, hey, sorry, I can't make it to Gloomhaven Thursday. Every single Thursday at 7:00 anymore.
Right.
Can we host it at my place? But I got to push it back till 8, till after the kid goes to bed. Sorry,
But need to be done by
guys.
8:30 in case he wait.
Right. Let's play the 30-minute
'Cause I'm
scenario of
old.
Gloomhaven, please.
Yeah,
yeah.
Let's start at 8, wrap by 8:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. The game says 20 minutes.
That's 20 minutes. We can fit this in. It's great. My number 10. I'm just kidding.
All right, so that's my number 10, young children.
Well done.
I love that. All right, well, my number 9 is one that I am guilty of. So to some extent, I have to acknowledge that I am part of the problem, right?
Oh.
The first step to admitting you have a problem is acknowledging that you're part of the problem.
That's not how the quote goes.
How
but-
bold.
That's how my quote
Wow,
goes.
you're so vulnerable right now.
I'm going to turn this car around right now. Apologies to Robert Geislinger, who used to do a segment on this very channel about my number 9 enemy of gaming. It is FOMO, fear of missing out. So one of the things that is kind of unique in board gaming here.
I'm trying to figure out what that picture was.
Yeah, shout out to Z here for the pictures.
You found all the pictures.
Something that is kind of unique, I think, to board gaming, because I've collected, I've been in different hobbies, music and things along those lines, is that board games are still a niche enough hobby, as much as they're growing, and thankfully it's becoming more part of popular culture, is that you do have situations where games can either be in short supply, or they're out of print, or they're a Kickstarter or crowdfunding exclusive, and if you are not in a position financially or whatever the case may be to be able to get the hot thing, it can create some negative emotions, right? And so I do think that this is something that we in this hobby have gotten ourselves into a little bit of a hamster wheel on, is this idea of have to have everything, have to play everything, have to know about everything, and you can't.
Yes.
It is a losing game, folks. It is a losing game. You can't play everything. You can't have everything. You can't buy everything. And this is coming from somebody that is within almost touching distance of the Dice Tower library, right? That still is a marvel, right? But it is a tiny fraction of what's out there.
Oh my goodness.
And so
Absolutely.
you just have to kind of, let some of this go. You can't. So anyway, this is an issue I think that has been around for a while, but I don't see it getting any better, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think in fact it's probably going the other way.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting discussion.
And
Yep.
Geislinger himself addressed this when he was on the At the Table with Tom and Eric. One of these, he was like, I was buying an average, and he said some astounding number.
Yeah.
He was buying I think double-digit number of games per week.
Right.
And he was like, you know what? I just I can't. That's not sustainable.
It's not. You
not,
can't.
yeah.
You're worrying about what's coming next. As someone said, Bonnie said there, you're worrying about what's coming next
Yep.
instead of enjoying what you are playing right now.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
I get grief all the time from Tom about being cold to the future, and there's an element of truth to that. So that's why I'm saying, look, I'm part of the problem here. I feed into FOMO sometimes.
Right. I mean, it's hard. I think you feel like you actively have to fight against it with the crowd surfing culture, that's kind of up and comings here.
And we're
So-
literally part of, like
Yeah.
you said, we're part of that board game review.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. My number 9 is this one. So in doing my list, to go backwards here for a minute, I did kind of look at this from 2 different perspectives as well, and tried to, from 2 different perspectives. And I was really thinking about issues that are wrong from the publisher, such as FOMO that you said, versus, and not issues from people, but what your game group or individuals and play styles, something you said like the kids, something like that. So 2 different things. So this one specifically I think is on the publishers. I think there is no excuse this day and age for there to be an ugly game. Period. Absolutely not.
What's the picture?
I don't know.
That's fantastic.
But I am baffled by this. Now, my taste might be very different than yours, and there's, subjective art. Mind management, for
Sure.
example,
Right,
comes to
right,
mind.
right.
Some people love it, others think it's trash. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The point is, it's for somebody, and it doesn't look. I feel like I can look at that and say that's not within my taste, but I appreciate what they did.
Sure.
That being said, I like mind management. I just happened to pick that one because I know it's a hot
gotcha.
topic.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But I don't understand this. It might not be in my taste, and that's fine. But for the love of all things holy, try. Look at Earth or Arc Nova. They are even using pictures, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, using stock footage sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly, and it drives me nuts. It doesn't have to be my taste. I get that. I get a lot of people are over nature games, and maybe that's an easy or I hate that word. Anthropomorphic. Nailed it.
Nicely
Animals.
done.
First try.
Thank you very much. But for the love, just try. Just run it by somebody that's not your friend before you hit the print button. That's all. My number 9, I don't even know. Ugly games. Don't be ugly games.
Don't be ugly. Camilla Cleghorn.
Chris is number 9, ugly children.
All right, so going to my number 9. My number 9 is something that, all right, let me preface this in 2 ways. One, I like your point of approaching this in different ways, right? So my first one, the number 10, was approaching this of the idea of, as you have kids, your responsibilities change. You have less time for your own for your own personal hobbies and enjoyment and stuff. So my number 9 is related to my number 10, and that is bad parents. Oh. Okay, I am striking.
This is
right
interesting
at the core.
gaming.
Wow.
They're like, never mind.
So I put together this picture.
Bigger issue.
Right. I'm going to share a story that a friend of mine shared with me.
Okay.
Trying to figure out who that is.
About inviting some people over for a fun night of games, and their kids are just picking through their shelves, yoinking stuff off, tearing things apart. And my friend is sitting there looking at these people who brought their kid by and is actively destroying their games. This is where kids are an enemy of games
Sure.
in that literal sense, right? But it's not the kids' fault, because kids are kids.
They're going to do what they're
Right.
going to do.
Yeah.
Right?
But when parents are just being straight up negligent in their responsibility, hey, Junior, don't eat that.
Right.
Right? Stop destroying Mr. So-and-so's games.
Right.
And they're doing nothing!
Man, Chris, I didn't even think, but
This would shoot much higher than 9.
this makes me think of something I wish I was making up, which is a literal infant being laid on the floor of a convention hall. These things are
Yes. There are parents that are unfortunately bad parents in that regard, right?
Right.
And so one, they're destroying games, but 2, also, I don't want to invite those people back to my convention as
Right.
you're just leaving your child
Right.
on the floor.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's my son at the pack and play. He'll be here all night. Don't worry
Oh,
about
no.
it.
There was no
Yeah.
pack and play. I'm not kidding.
I
There
know
was
you're
barely
not.
a blanket.
That will protect them from
Yeah.
the hordes of marching people, the
Correct.
people not running.
Right. Yeah.
No, there's just so much that, and I think no, you're a very bad representation of what I think is a very wholesome hobby.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you don't need that. Plus, don't destroy my games.
There's that too.
Right. Or my house, like you said. I mean,
My
they're
house,
down. They're gonna be in the game room. They'll be fine. They'll take care of themselves. Nah, check on your kids, or teach them manners, or get a sitter.
Teach your children well. Number 8, Roy, please. All right. My number 8 is Dan Hughes. No, but Dan Hughes, my friend Dan Hughes, gave me the idea for this one because I told him I was going to be doing this and I wanted to make sure there was nothing that I was missing. And he mentioned this and this rang true with me. It's related to FOMO, but it's not exactly the same thing. So my number 8 is an internal pressure to get games played. Okay, and so this is the way I'm approaching this. Dan mentioned this, and he may have a different view, but this is my view on it. To me, board games, this hobby, is something that is joyful, right? This is something that brings peace and joy and excitement and serenity and you name it to my life. And sometimes I find myself in a situation where I'm feeling almost anxiety because I feel like I have to play a game rather than I want to play a game. So it's a subtle shift, but this happens, and this is why I got into solo gaming. I've mentioned the story many times, so I won't beat that dead horse again. But there you go. The idea that you've got all of these games on your shelf, right? Victor. And it takes away from the reason why you're doing it, right, to begin with, is that you start to feel like you have to play games rather than you want to because, either you've got them on your shelves or there's new games coming out. Oh, I've got to get to this one. And again, so it's similar. It's related to FOMO. But it's this idea of feeling this pressure of playing games. Like instead of just being in the moment and enjoying it for what it is, not thinking about what's coming up next, what I need to play next. And look, and this is not getting to anybody that does like board game stats or the 10 for 10 challenges, but there's a little bit of that in there too.
I've never done a 10 for 10 challenge because that would take fun and turn it into work.
Right,
for
so
me.
that's kind of
you have to know yourself.
This is nothing against people that do that because I know there are people that really love that aspect of the hobby, and I'm not trying to yuck your yum there.
Absolutely.
But for me, I'm with you. That's why I don't tend to do those because then it's taking the focus away from why I like to play games. The other people, that may be a big part of it. They like the gamification and all that.
Right.
But for me, it takes away from why I like to play games. So that's my number 8, an internal pressure to play games. If you don't like it, blame Dan Hughes.
No, I like that. I think that's an interesting take on FOMO. You know what I mean? It's like a different side of it almost.
Yeah.
I like it too, but I'm still going to blame Dan.
I would blame Dan.
Absolutely. Yeah. My number 8 is back to kind of one about people and players in general, and this is one that I use to kind of group some things together here. And this is just poor sportsmanship, is what I call it. Poor sportsmanship, in my mind, it encompasses everything from like alpha gamers, which is where someone is playing the game for you, to a salty player, who mid-game just kind of checks out and tells you all the reasons the game is broken, or if
that's never happened to me before.
Right, yeah. Or midway, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't want to play that, I only want to play this game. So there's just kind of inconsiderate people who I think represent bad sportsmanship, whether it's in the way they're playing or afterward if they complain that they lost because of this or that or their hands were never right. And you have those, right? You have those bad days, but at the end or bad games. You have bad plays of games. But at the end of the day, these are games, these are toys, these are things we want to do to enjoy together. And maybe that's, I'm more of an experience-seeking gamer, meaning I want a good experience. That's why I like a lot of interactions and discussions and that kind of stuff, but I hate it when you just have that person that just brings everyone else down.
Yeah.
And I think this one hit me really hard a couple years ago when I was playing a game and introducing one of my favorite games to people or to somebody, and I to this day think this person would have liked this game. but they came in it and just knew out of the gate they didn't want to enjoy it. And the whole time just proceeded to tell me how it was broken, how it was this, how it was that, how it was compared to these other games, everything else is doing. And I remember at the end of that play, I was like, I don't want to play this with you. Wait, I don't want to play with you ever. Like I'm done, and so it's just poor sportsmanship and just forgetting that this is a fun experience for us to enjoy together.
I'm going to
There
come
it
back
is.
to this.
I'm coming back to it too.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will hold my thoughts for now.
To be continued.
I will as well. Yes. There's
Well,
more
I'll
to
come
say.
back as well.
Yeah.
With all the fire.
To be clear, that means I disagree. I think this is a bad pick.
Oh, got it.
All right, so my number 8, there's going to be a little bit of a prelude to this. So before we show the slide, it's only going to make sense if I explain this.
Teenagers?
Are we just like moving up the age? Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
that means-
Yeah. Those 11-year-olds. No, so a lot of times when people are going to first go to a board game convention, they'll post online, they're excited. Oh, I'm about to go to Dice Tower West in a week. I'm so excited. Any recommendations for first-time, convention attendees? And people will share this idea, what's called the 6-2-1 rule.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
If you've heard it before, that means
know what it is.
every day you should get at least 6 hours of sleep, eat at least 2 meals,
But how much should you shower or bathe?
at least 1 time.
That's all we ask.
And that's
Right.
a
Once.
bare minimum, folks.
This is like bare minimum, right? So the 6-2-1 rule, got to get enough sleep, enough food, and enough showers. My number 8 enemy of gaming is anyone that recommends the 3-2-1 rule. I have heard this at multiple
Really?
occasions. People say, make sure you get at least 3 hours of sleep. No! That is not enough. That is not enough sleep
3-2-1.
and this kind of goes back to the FOMO discussion, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I get excited when a convention is coming around. I get excited when the Dice Tower Cruise comes around. Sometimes I wake up early in the morning, earlier than I would, and I think, that's like Christmas morning, I could just get up now, and then I conk back asleep for a little bit, right? But I could just get up right then and there if I wanted to. And I know the fewer conventions you get to go to each year, right? I recognize the position we're in.
Sure.
Right.
We're so fortunate.
Yeah.
When I was going to one convention a year, I would wake up sometimes at 6 o'clock in the morning that first day and be like, oh, I'm so excited. It's Dice Tower West, and I live in Las Vegas. I get to go. I should try to relax and get a little bit more rest. Because if you're trying to follow the 3-2-1, or I think what you thought I was going to go with the 3-2-0 rule,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
I was like, don't do it.
all of these are good minimums.
Yeah.
6-2-1. Because yes, you might be able to spend more hours at the convention, but are they worthwhile hours?
It comes back to that quality, right? That experience,
Yeah.
that game time, not only for yourself, but for the people
for
you're playing
others.
with. Yes, exactly. Not to steal your point, but yes, I agree.
Because
yes.
if you are a 3-2-1 gamer, you are more likely to start a game
Yes.
with bad sportsmanship. And be like,
Yes.
oh, this doesn't sound interesting.
And-
well, you didn't teach that rule. I did.
Right,
You just took a nap
did. Right.
in the middle
Yes.
of my rules teach.
Or the opposite of that is they're so frantic, and I get it because I'm excitable, right? Like I'm usually
Right.
like that even with 9 hours of sleep, but still, like you have those people that are just like, oh, and what happens? And it's like, for the love, drop the coffee and go take a nap. Like stop, Joey, get your sleep.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, get sleep, also take showers, and
Yeah.
eat some food for the sake of you and for the
sake.
other people around you. Be
Yes.
considerate of other people. at
Because you'll live for
conventions,
another
too.
year and get to come next year again, and then guess what? You still win. It's more time.
Yeah. So there you go. That's my number 8.
Live well.
I still remember the excitement that I felt when I got a set of shelves that were specifically for my board games. Right?
Sorry, I think I know you're going. I'm so excited.
No, a lot of people can remember this. Maybe you got them, even at a secondhand store or whatever. It doesn't have to be, a Calyx or whatever from IKEA. But I got some shelves that were specifically designed for my board games, right? And most of the games I got at that time, this was a number of years ago, fit quite well in those shelves. There were maybe 1 or 2 I had to put up on top. My number 7 is expanding game boxes.
Yes.
What is going on, people. What is happening here?
Man, Z nailed these. These are awesome.
Do the boxes all have to fit the children that Chris is trying to keep out from the game days? No, they don't. Look, standard game boxes were standard for a reason, right? They worked. They made sense. I understand once in a while you're going to have a non-standard size game box, but anymore it's getting to the point where it's being done for watch what I can do next.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
No,
It is
Everdell needs to be
ridiculous.
that big.
And again, speaking as someone who's guilty of the things they're complaining about, this is coming from somebody that has the Everdell Complete Edition. It's
large
ridiculous.
tidal blades.
This is coming from someone that has the deluxe tidal blades, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They could have stacked it, done it twice on top, and fit in a
Easy
calyx
solution. Easy.
instead of along the top. Why? You know what I mean? Look, I know you want your product to stand out, but you're annoying gamers. You really are.
Right.
You are annoying gamers. You're also annoying retailers, and I know this because I worked in board game retail for a while. You got to get back to more standard box sizes. This is ridiculous now. It's ridiculous.
Well, it affects so many. It affects shipping. It affects retail. It affects distributors.
Right.
Yes.
Right. When you're moving a whole pallet, you see a forklift of a whole pallet being moved, and you're like, "That's 5 copies of Frosthaven."
Right. And that's at 5.
Right, and I do think that it's going to turn around mostly because of how expensive shipping, all the shipping crisis that we had, and getting that's gotten better, but still, I do think that maybe people realized that a tipping point had already been hit, and we are way on the long side of this. You got to get back to manageable, reasonable.
As well as, as a player, I will and I'll point at Everdell here, the complete collection. Since I've gotten that, I've not put Everdell on the table. I look at it and I'm like, it's not worth it. Let's just do this instead. You know what I mean? Like it's just not worth getting a 30-pound box down to bring it out to the table. And then where do you put it when you're playing? It's just so much. It's daunting to even get past the box.
Yep, absolutely.
I agree.
There you go. My number 7, ever expanding game boxes.
Nice. My number 7 is similar to my number 10. My number 10 was the inaccurate playtime. My number 7 is the lack of recommended player count. All right, now I'm not talking that player counts, I know, plays 2 to 4 players.
Okay.
All right, but what do you recommend? If you say it plays 2 to 4, I expect to be able to sit down.
Muttley! Z is on fire.
Or this one here, 1 to 8. So what do you recommend though? Is that like a solo variant? Is that a variant to make it more? Is it, if it's a limited communication where if it's 8 people and it's chaos? I was trying to think of one recently. I don't know if it was Micro Macro, but it's something like that. Maybe Chronicles of Crime, where that has a higher player count. And that's chaos if you try to play at that player count. Yeah. But also something like, and again, I don't know what these are. I'm just thinking of the games. Murder Deception in Hong Kong. I would never want to play that at 3 players. So it's like, and again, I don't know if that's on the box, but whatever. But I just feel like there needs to be a recommended, what do they think is the recommended first time you play player count for this, that I can go into it. From there, maybe I'll say, hey, Obsession's one of my favorite games of all time, so cool. I don't mind playing that at 4 and it taking longer time. That's not how I would recommend it. And so I think that the boxes and the companies need to do a better job of letting us know what they feel. They've play tested, they've produced, they've done all the work on this game. You should have an idea of what it plays best at, in your opinion. Maybe I won't agree, but at least give me a starting spot.
Something I've noticed that's related to this is a good point, is that I've seen a couple of publishers, it's definitely not the norm, where they'll say something along the lines of 3 to 5 players, and then underneath they'll put 2-player variant.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Do that.
Be that person.
Don't make me wait till I get home, open up the rulebook, and go, oh, great, dummy player.
Fantastic.
Right. I'm excited to learn this game. And the appendix rules.
And the extra rule set I need. So I think with solo gamers, you don't need to do that. I think solo gamers at this point know that you're going to have a separate rule set for a solo variant.
Yeah.
But 2 players, they do that way too often. Way too often.
Perfect example, they did that at the Crew.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now knowing the game and stuff, I don't mind the 2-player variant. In fact, I think I'm in the minority here that I enjoy the 2-player with the Jarvis. You like it too? I really like the 2-player variant, but it's a variant, and you should know that going in.
Yeah.
I think Kurt made a good point up there that it's BGG is very helpful. Yes, and I use that very frequently the BGG recommended player count where people vote on that kind of stuff. But that's on the publishers.
Yeah.
They're the ones that play tested this. Let the community back it up and give their input later. But if I'm going in to buy a game, that's on the publishers. They have that data and are not giving it to us. And I'm pretty sure it's just as aggressive as it came across there. My bad.
Indeed.
It's hard to follow up your passion. Like, oh, my number 7 is this kind of annoying
Passion.
thing.
I.e. rage.
All right, my number 7, though, I think it is something that's going to get people worked up too, right? So are you ready to not just hate your own list, but hate mine?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Well, we're good.
And I'm going to clarify this. My number 7 is bad game stores.
Okay.
Oh.
Bad game store, bad customer service. Right. I found some of these pictures. I found my own
Okay,
pictures. I didn't realize
nice.
we could just offshore this work out to Z. Jeez. But this picture's strange. It looks like Marco Rubio not getting customer service. But anyway, we live down here in southern Florida. I have almost never gotten good customer service from like any chain restaurant.
It is shocking.
It is
How
shockingly bad.
Shocking.
Really
Culture
bad.
shock.
It's
Number
Thunderdome,
one down
people.
here.
It's
It's
Thunderdome down
bad.
here.
I don't mind when I go. I mean, I do mind, but like I expect this. I walk into a Wendy's, I order food. They look at me. They're not sure where the buttons are for the thing I ordered that the previous customer just ordered. They're out of things.
It's like slot machine food. You order something, you don't know what you're going to get, right? You're getting something.
You
in
get the
bag,
guy behind
hopefully.
you's food. You're
Right.
getting yesterday's
Right.
muffins.
You walk into a Walmart. You're not expecting customer service per se. You're expecting that there's a bunch of stuff in stock for hopefully relatively cheap. And yet, when you walk into a game store, this is a hobby industry
Yeah.
that is really personal. And you would hope that you would be greeted. You'd hope that people would be, welcoming and stuff. There are so many bad horror stories of bad game stores. Now, lest all my words be taken out of context, right? As maybe has happened on this channel before. I love good game stores.
Sure.
I love it when you walk in and there are those people that give good recommendations. Ask what type of games you've liked. And hey, have you heard of this one that's similar to all that type of stuff? But when you walk into a game store and you get nothing, you get just absolutely nothing. We did a whole top 10 list on this at last year's Dice Tower West, right? Top 10 signs
things,
of game stores that are actually good. Do all of those things, but just a bad game store can be someone's first impression of the hobby.
Yeah.
Right.
They played a few games, they have a friend that recommended a few, they walk into a store, and if they're treated like they get treated at Walmart, they're just going to leave.
Right.
And unlike Walmart, even if I get bad customer service, I'm still going back there because I like cheap Pop-Tarts or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I got to order my groceries. Well, I was going to make an analogy.
Wait, I do that. Hold on.
I could order my groceries online. I don't know. I still don't, right? But you could just as easily have people leave your store and go order things on Amazon. You don't want them to have to do that. You want them to have that face-to-face connection and grow the hobby.
Right.
And if you're not trying to do that, then you're a bad game store.
And I will say, as a consumer, I'm still a consumer, I know, but like back when I lived in Baltimore, we had multiple big game stores and that kind of stuff. This was a big deal. I know that I have paid more for money because I wanted to support that friendly local game store. I've paid full retail price for many years, when I know I could go get it from Miniature Market. But if I can go in there and support that local store, pay a little bit more, save on shipping, however you justify it. But ultimately, I have a good experience there, and I enjoy going to that store, seeing what I can discover there, because it does have that community. Even if you don't know them, you want to feel that hobby community when you go in.
Right.
And it makes, as a consumer, again, I'm willing to shell out a little bit more for that experience.
Yeah, there are so many horror stories of people going to a game store and having a bad experience for one reason or other, and I won't go into all the details and stuff, but what a way to shut down gaming from someone's life than to let them be like harassed or completely ignored walking to a game store.
Right.
So that's my number 7, enemy of gaming, bad game stores.
All right. Well, my number 6, I think, is one that I mentioned at the beginning of this list, that there are things that have come up from working in this job. And this certainly is one that I think, while I probably would have had the idea, I maybe wouldn't have had the specificity of this. My number 6 is what I feel is a lack of blind playtesting. Okay? This is a big enemy of gaming, all right? And I'm being very specific. Mediocrities is legit, right?
Yeah, I love using
I took a whole class on mediocrities. I never showed up, but I took the class. There's a difference. That's why I'm being very specific about blind playtesting, which means that you are giving your game to people that don't know the game.
Right.
You're not there as the designer or the developer, or if you are, you're keeping your mouth shut, your eyes open, and your ears open. They're learning the game from your rules, period. That's it. That's blind playtesting. Preferably you're not there at all so that they feel comfortable saying whatever they want to say. This I don't think happens enough. I think what ends up happening is that you've got a group of playtesters that know you, sometimes on a personal level, sometimes they're your friends, okay? And it's not going to be the same thing. You're not going to get the type of feedback that you need to learn what your blind spots are, using that word, that phrase again. You've got to give your game to people that don't know you, that their only interaction with the game is what you're giving them, because that's going to be the typical end user, right? The consumer of your product is not going to be a buddy of yours usually. It's going to be somebody that their first and only interaction with the game is what you give them in the box. And do not expect them to go online and watch a video to do your job. It's not okay. Blind play test your game, and you have no excuse nowadays when you've got all of these online implementations to do it, right? I don't love TTS. As a matter of fact, I don't like it. I don't love a lot of these things, but you know what? They are invaluable playtesting resources for designers and developers. Use them. There are people that are going out of their way that love the idea of being part of a playtesting.
Right, yeah.
Give them a credit in the rule book, whatever. People are out there willing and able and wanting to blind playtest your games. Utilize these resources that are out there. This is a biggie for me. Lack of blind playtesting.
Yeah,
I love it.
Completely agree. I would add more if I could, and I think you said it very well. It's not on my list, but so glad that's represented, because nothing is more frustrating than sitting down and having to go to BGG to get answers when you're trying to learn a game. It's like you said, it's your job. Your job to look at, not you, audience. You guys are great.
You're great.
You publishers.
I was just talking earlier about this trick taking that we played here, where someone got a special power that said you always play the last card of a trick. They're like, that's a cool sounding power, cool. So that person plays their card last, and they won the trick, unsurprisingly.
Oh, wait.
And then we said, what now?
Hold on. I did great until I didn't.
Flip into the rule book. You're like, this was clearly... So anyone in the world could have looked at this situation and been like, we have no idea how to proceed at this point. The game is like halted completely.
Right.
You're like, come on, do what Mike's talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fantastic. For my number 6, I'm piggybacking off something, Mike, you already said earlier, and I'll start with a little story time here. I'm not a big movie watcher, right? We know this. I catch a lot of flack for it. I'm not a big movie watcher, and that's because I get very emotionally invested in characters. It is more times than not that I end up crying in movies. Yes, I've cried in Ice Age.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. Like I just get very emotionally. I'm very easily emotionally manipulated in movies and stuff. And to me, FOMO is the equivalent of that. So my number 6 is FOMO. I feel like you were emotionally manipulating me with these Kickstarters that I feel like I've got to get it now. It's hot. This is the only time I'm going to be able to get it. Hold on. Limited supply. It's only Kickstarter exclusive. The only time I'm ever going to get it. And I have to get everything because I might not ever have the chance, or I'm going to get it 2.5 minutes before the next person. Right. So, oh my gosh, bye. And I feel like I can't really blame publishers for this because I see it and they're getting the money, and it's like I don't know where to point the finger at this other than myself, maybe, because I keep falling prey to it.
Yeah.
But it's like I really feel like it's doing a disservice to the hobby, and we're things are, let me see, hold on, make sure this is the one I wanted to put this comment in. Nope, that's one later. I'll save that comment. There's another similar one coming up. But yeah, I think this FOMO and this idea of now's your only chance, it really does feed into that anxiety you were talking about, that I have literally lost sleep before over a Kickstarter ending, and should I get it? And oh my gosh, $1 or full pledge, or what if I don't? What if it's more later? It gets caused literal anxiety.
Yeah.
And again, where to point the finger, I don't know. It's my problem. Maybe just, don't fall prey to it, but it's there, and I feel like it's specifically designed to be there and to manipulate us in that way. And I think that it's ruining the hobby, and it just makes, want to go, fine, I'm done with everything then, which is not healthy either. There's got to be a happy medium, and we're just not approaching that happy medium of, what is realistic.
Right.
Well, you're getting a lot of comments definitely supportive of that. Of regretted purchases.
Right.
This will never come back to Kickstarter. Well, I have to get it.
Right.
Have I played it? No. Right.
Right. And why not just pick it up retail later? But I didn't get that one figure that I knew. Okay, did you ever play with that one figure? No. And again, I'm pointing at myself on this, but it's just like it's designed to manipulate me, and it works.
Well, now you just encourage the publishers.
Yeah, it works. You got me.
It works.
So.
Movie I cried during that surprises me, that shocks me, is Wreck-It Ralph. For some reason,
Really?
that one has a moment that just gets me. And I'm
Gotta
like,
wreck it.
yeah, just one little great man tear, because I'm just so masculine. All right, my number 6. Someone predicted this at the very beginning of the video.
Okay.
There are a couple predictions, right? My number 6 is, let me make sure I say the right one. Bad Teacher.
Also a Cameron Diaz movie that I cried at. I wept like a baby.
You know what, you guys? I probably would. So you're right. I won't say.
Aaron.
I'm going to take credit for some of my
That's
predictions.
fantastic.
I had fun.
Yeah.
Also, if you Google image search "bad teacher,"
Don't do that.
yeah,
Leave your safe search on. Yep.
yeah. Avoid. But a bad rules teach
Yes.
is one of the. It's so hard to recover from.
Yes.
Right. And this is in the context of, especially for people that are newer to the hobby, new to a game, and they're hoping to enjoy the game or whatever. But oh my gosh, having a bad rules teach is really difficult, and it's everyone blunders a teach every once in a while.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I've biffed it and been like, oh, I'm sorry about that. Here, let me, right? But sometimes people are very over eager to teach games, or sometimes people have no idea how to teach games, and people can walk away from that experience just with the worst opinion.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes a bad rule teach. This is something that I've said before, is that part of a bad rules teach starts with picking the wrong game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? When people
That
are
is
like,
true.
oh, I love Ticket to Ride. Any other recommendations? Sure.
Right.
We're going to jump.
The Gallerist.
Yeah, we're going to jump right into the
Gallerist. That's what I was
Gallerist,
thinking, yeah.
You can play Ticket to Ride. You can play the Gallerist, which is
Technically
Right.
true. Yeah.
Can is technically true, but there are so many things that go into a good rules teach. Just even start with the idea of like, this is what you're trying to accomplish. Is it cooperative or competitive?
Yeah.
Because I've sat through
As well.
and sometimes I've made that mistake. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I was so excited I forgot to teach that this is a cooperative game. Like, everything makes sense now, right? But my goodness, you want to talk about something that can really turn people away from games, a specific game or gaming in general, just having no idea how to present and teach a game. So.
This was on my list. It got bumped off, but this was on my list, and I thought it'd be a lot higher. And I think what bothers me sometimes too is people that are overconfident in teaching games, and maybe because it's their favorite game. And so they approach it from that mindset. This is my favorite game. You're going to love it. Let me tell you all about it. And they get so caught in their love of the game that they don't actually teach the game.
Yep.
Or maybe they just get so excited about showing you the strategy of the game, what the game can do. Let me show you the legs of this game. No, how about you just show me the game so I understand what's going on and I can actually play with you.
Yes. No, I agree. Back in the day, back in the board game blender days, I did a whole segment just about game teaching tips, and so there's so many. If you can find some good resources, and if you're like feeling a little bit guilty, I'm not trying to guilt you or anything like that, but just there are some ways that you can just have general better teaching.
Yeah.
by following a couple of recommendations. Start with the main objective, and giving a little envision of the game, right? Giving like a 30-second elevator pitch. This is kind of what we're doing. Here's like the theme of it, if that helps kind of tie into understanding what's going on, and this is how you do it. Now let's talk about the action. Now, not digging into rabbit holes too early, say before you even mention what the point of the game is.
Right.
Right.
So many things you can do. So by number 6, bad rules teach.
What did I call it?
My number 5 is one that tends to be a little bit controversial when it's brought up, so I want to be as clear as I can be about this. I'm just going to come right off the bat and say that my number 5 is analysis paralysis in players. So I need to be, like I said, as clear as I can about this. Certain games, and this is why we put 5 tribes up here. Certain games are, by their very nature, by their very design, more prone to lead to a little bit of a mental lockup, right? The board state changes between every turn, or a Lacerda game where, all you do in Lisboa, speaking of bad teaches, is take a card and play a card. And then that leads into a 45-page spreadsheet of branching actions, okay? So certain games are going to be more likely to do that. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is being able to read the room a little bit and understand when your need to get 5 points on a turn instead of 4 points on a turn is taking as long as every other player's turn combined, and your need to maximize every single point you can is taking away from everybody else's enjoyment at the table. And that means you've got to read the room a little bit. It means you have to understand that sometimes maybe you'll take a slightly suboptimal turn if every turn you're taking is twice, 3 times, 4 times as long as the other player. I've been in situations where a player is clearly in the lead, crushing everybody, in the last round of the game, taking 10-minute turns because they want to get every single they want to squeeze every point they can. Everybody else at the table is miserable. Not because they're losing. They've figured it out, right? We get it.
Their score.
But it, to me, is the height of selfishness and inconsideration. I'm not saying you can't lock up on turns. I do. Tom gives me grief about this. I don't think I'm a particularly AP-prone player, but I get it from time to time. Everybody does. It's not what I'm getting at. I'm getting at, is this a behavior pattern? Right? Is this a behavior pattern in you? And if it is, you know what? You've probably been told that it is. Right?
Or not, because people just stop playing with you.
Or that, right?
Have you lost 4 game groups?
Yeah,
No, I'm just kidding.
This can really be a problem because it could wreck game groups.
It has.
It can ruin people's experiences in a social setting. We're getting together, we're having fun, we're playing games. Sure, you want to win, you want to do the best you can. If you're not trying at all, that's almost as bad, because then other people are like, oh, well, you're kind of ruining this game.
It doesn't even matter what I do.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
No.
But you've got to be considerate of the people around you and monitor how long you are taking compared to the other people at the table. If you're at a table of everyone is a slow player, this isn't an issue.
Right. It's back to what you said, read the room, read the table. That's the difference. You might have that play group, and that's great. And that's great for that play group, but understand if that's not it. If you're playing with someone new at a convention, or something like that, like, you have to read the room. As well as, I think it's really important what you said, it's 1 turn, 2 turns, that's fine. That happens to all of us. But if it's consistently happening, then maybe something you need to work on.
Right, exactly. There you go.
It goes.
That's my very specific,
I love
AP
it.
thing.
I love it.
And I think it goes along with your point of poor sportsmanship.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I put that one in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Understandable that some people process games slower than others. Some people will. Hey, I'm really sorry. I have to ask. Okay, I need to sit there and think for just to kind of get it. Very different than what you're talking about. Like the kind of just the straight up poor sportsmanship. I need to take longer on my turns because
Right.
it's
Yeah.
more meaningful to me. My time, my fun
Yes.
is more important than your fun.
Right.
That's
a
exactly right.
Yep.
very different
My
mindset.
win
exactly
is
right.
bigger than the group's experience.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And there's a little thing here in the chat about this whole argument of whether AP is a game problem or a player problem. I have a pretty strong opinion on this. It's a
As well.
player problem.
As well. I think
right?
alpha gamer as well. That's a person
Yeah,
problem.
Exactly. So there you go. My number
Yep.
5.
Yep. My number 5 is another one that I think kind of encapsulates something someone else said, because I went a little more broad. Lots of anger to work through here. And it's going to go back to what you said, not children, the parents of the children.
Yes!
But it's not that exactly. It is, to encompass that, I say players multitasking. And so, for example, if you are a parent, and that is fine. Again,
I'm going to tweet this out.
I've played with the parents. I get that, and I understand. Oh, the kid woke up a little bit earlier. Oh, it's food time. You've planned around that the best you can, and there are going to be things that pull your attention away at some point. I have to have my phone on me because in case my sitter calls. Whatever it may be, that's fine. But when it's not your turn, if you're pulling your phone out to tweet something or to check your Facebook feed or to refresh your email for the 45th time, or I don't know, whatever else you're doing. I'm not looking at your phone. I'm watching the game, and it's so frustrating when I think players, I'm great at multitasking. I can do it too. Oh, yeah, right. Is it my turn yet? If you have to ask me your turn, you're multitasking, and no, it's not your turn because I'm done. That's how I feel about it. I'm done. So multitasking. Again, things are going to happen. You're going to have, that's okay. I can be considerate and I understand it. This is not, oh, sorry, we're having dinner after this. I need to go. The oven just went off. Let me pull it out. That's fine. You're planning around but if it's this consistent, back to you said, the consistent habit that is pulling you away from the game, which you wanted to play, I assume, because you're there, then it's a problem. Like, be in the game, be in the experience. Don't take away from that experience. I think that's really, really selfish.
Some people then take this too extreme and they're like, no phones at the table whatsoever,
Sure.
Right? Anyway, I think that's the wrong way to take it, right?
Right.
Be invested in the game.
Yeah.
I'm going to combine these last two really quick and tell a quick story. Wendy was always bothered when people would be like, oh, phones at the game table, so rude. And she's sitting there like, sometimes people take so long in their turns that I'm like, they're off in La La Land, right, in AP world. So I'm pulling up my phone because I'm so bored at the table, and yet I'm being called rude. Right. And you're like, wait, no, because she's still invested in the game. Every time something happens, she's still aware, like, okay, this person moved onto this part of the map, this person took the spot, it's my turn. I can functionally take my turn.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the difference. I think if you're multitasking and distracted and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
what? When did this happen?
Right.
Like, when you're on your phone!
Yeah, right, exactly. And I think, and too, that's, again, my personality being pretty strong. I think that's when I start, subtly calling out, and if that doesn't help, hey, you're taking too long. I'm going to pull my phone out. Take from that what you will. I get that.
All right, love it. Oh, man. You're only going to get angrier. This is impressive.
So exciting.
My number 5, I anticipate this is going to be your number 1, Mike. There's no way this is not your number 1.
All
The way
right.
that you have
Then I probably won't say much about it.
you have whinged in excess about them. My number 5 is bad rule books. My number 6 was bad teachers, bad teachers, bad teaching experiences. My number 5 is bad rule books because that's even more crucial. So this is an excerpt from the Munchkin rule book. And that's sillier than anything else.
Right, of course, yeah.
When a rule book does not function, when you walk away with just as many questions as you had going into the rule book as you did at the back end of it, when I can't figure out how to play your game, and I'm a very patient person, right? I learned not Missionary Planet. What is the one from Portal Games? The Red Planet one. First Martians.
Yeah, First Martians. Yeah.
I'm one of those people that struggled through that and ended up really liking the game. My goodness, that was a serious struggle. I read both the first and the second edition of the rule books, the clarifications, the FAQs online. This was years ago. I think at this point, I don't have the patience for that.
Yep.
I don't have the patience to read multiple drafts of your rule book of your published game.
Right.
we're going to judge your game based on the rule book that was printed with it.
Yep.
The cards that were indecipherable.
Right.
The cards that seem to directly contradict the other parts of the same card.
Yeah.
It's like the golden rule. If a card contradicts the main rules of the game, the card takes precedence. Like, yeah, but what if it's the same card?
Yeah, right.
Or like back to you said, it's not been play tested, enough so that you don't understand that. Like, you get this information. You have the opportunity to not have this happen. I mean, there's in this day and age, there's no reason for this. It's the translation issue. We have all kinds of resources at our hand. Use them. There's just no excuse for it.
You should make sure that a native speaker has read through the translated rule books and said, and just tell them, like, be as nitpicky as you possibly can, because I don't want this to come across indecipherable. I don't want this to come across bad. Sometimes things happen, right? Sometimes you just slip a word or whatever. But like, I get the sentence, but when I cannot figure it out, that's inexcusable at this point.
Right.
Yep.
My number
I'll have
5.
more to say later.
It's shocking.
All right, my number 4 is related to some extent to, all of these are going to have some kind of, you know what I mean,
I think
things
from
related.
now on, it's
Yeah. My number 4 is simply what I'm calling crowdfunding bloat. Stretch goal overload, baby. Hey, we've got an idea for a game. Here's a nice little design we've got. We're going to put it on crowdfunding. We need to have 75 different stretch goals, so we're going to add everything and the kitchen sink. This sounds like an interesting idea. Yeah, we'll put it in there. Have you developed it? No. Have you considered how it's going to work? No. Put it in. It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's getting ridiculous. Give me what is the core experience. Make that shine. The extra stuff should be just maybe, upgraded components, playmat or something like that. I don't want 9/10 of the content to be stretch goal expansions that are released at the same time as your game. It's ridiculous now.
Yep.
Give me the best experience in a manageable package, and then if I want more stuff, I can get more stuff.
Run a second Kickstarter.
There you go.
But I'm betting that you're not that confident your game's actually that good.
Right.
If you're throwing out 16 extra boxes.
Exactly. Yeah. Be confident in what you've got. Make that your product. The other stuff should just be fluff. There's my number 4. Kickstarter bloat.
I'm saved all my comments for this moment to say my number 4 is also Kickstarter bloat. It is. That's why I was like, hold back.
Nice,
2 on 1 here. Kickstarter bloat for me as well. And this.
Not that one though.
So everyone's gonna say
that
about
one.
some game.
Right.
True.
So I mean, I think Kickstarter bloat. And by bloat specifically, I mean where it just inflates the game to the point that not everything can be properly play tested, checked over for spelling errors, that kind of stuff. It gets more about getting you the biggest and the most stuff instead of actually the best experience, which is a well-honed, developed game.
Yep.
And I think that there is a happy medium in this that's just really not used much. And the one specific example that comes to mind is Final Girl. In season 1, they had a stretch goal, and it was for this secret box or whatever that you could get, right? And I love when it finally came. Spoilers. There's your chance to skip ahead. It ended up being this little dice that you could use, a randomizer. Something like that. I was like, cool, you can throw that in. That's not bloat because it's nothing you have to develop. It's something you have to create and maybe get a proof of or something like that. But it didn't increase the time. It didn't increase it increased their production costs. But I mean, it didn't bloat the game out. My game that I got was still the same, and it functioned very, very well. And so it's like bloat for the sake of more stuff and for the sake of boxes not fitting on my shelves is just excess that I don't need, and leads to FOMO and leads to so many things. So yes, Kickstarter bloat.
Kickstarter bloat.
And I'll add to that because one of my next coming numbers is Kickstarter bloat. We're talking about it. I'm just going to talk about it
right now. Coming hot.
So I think too that part of the thing that really causes Kickstarter bloat to be an issue.
Crowdfunding bloat. Let's spread the blame.
Let's
be fair.
Backer kit. All of you.
That's your fault.
Right.
Is when the game suffers because of it.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
more rule books, you have more exceptions, you have more things that you have to sit there and struggle and read through, and you end up not playing it because you
Right.
look at all of this stuff and you say, I'm less happy because I have so much
Right.
stuff
Right.
for this game, whatever it may be, right?
Oh, sorry.
You-
Oh, yeah.
you-
Oh, okay. Or for example, again, another game when the components don't work. That's bloat. It's like you just wanted to give me these bigger, more excess components that then make the game a frustrating experience to play. That's bloat as well. It's anyway. Yes.
So people might ask, at what point does it turn from like more exciting stuff into bloat? And I think it's the moment that your enjoyment of it starts suffering
Yeah.
because
Right,
of it.
I agree.
Yeah,
And everyone has a
for
different
sure.
threshold. That's why, right? Pete Shirey in the chat. Hey now, Marvel United, right? And Mike said the same thing.
Yeah.
You love Marvel United, fantastic, right? You love Joan of Arc. You love whatever game that came with 1,700 extra boxes. Cool. But I think that most people who back these games at some point might play the base box once or twice or something and say, I'm starting to feel guilt that I'm not playing this expansion material.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to have to
does.
sit there and read through this bad rule book that wasn't blind play tested, that wasn't properly edited and everything, and try and figure out the Dragon expansion module.
Right.
Okay, I'll just play the base game again, and I'm feeling guilt that I'm not using the stuff that I paid for on Kickstarter.
Right. Yeah, it ties together a lot of things for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Was that your number 4?
No, I wish.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. I am up next. That's a little bit awkward. Anyway, so my number 4, and this is basically a crossover. I called it Constant Complainers.
Oh,
but it's
the
poor sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything that you said, for sure, right? Hey, come join me, play one of my favorite games that I love so much. Come enjoy this great board gaming hobby we have.
Yep.
Oh, I'm not drawing the right cards.
Yeah.
Oh, you took that spot. Oh, nothing is working out. Like, are you having fun?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, are you enjoying this game that you recruited me to come play? Because I don't think you are. And
Right.
I'm starting to not have a lot of fun with it either.
Yeah.
So yeah, poor sportsmanship is I think
I love it, yep.
the better way to say what I called constant complaining.
Thank you.
So I definitely have complained about rule books in the past, and I will again here in a little bit.
In the future.
But you know something else that I've been complaining about that is, I think, related to that, it's at least in the same general ballpark lately, is, hey, publishers, if you've got a game that's language independent, and most are, I get it, it makes sense, financial sense, practical sense, how about a player aid?
Oh.
Give me a player aid!
Player aid.
Give me a player aid. You know what? It probably takes a single card. Maybe it's a very complex game and it needs to be an 8x11 or whatever. I don't care. Give me a player aid. I don't want to have to flip through the rule book 15 times to figure out what the closed fist is and what the open hand is and what the pitchfork sticking into the open hand is and what the 4 people juggling is. Right here, you've got a player aid for Batman Gotham City Chronicles. You know what? It never existed when the game came out. It made the game almost unplayable. They had to come out with them, I think, on the 3rd edition. Wow. It's ridiculous. Give us a player aid, right? It's not that hard. You've already figured out the iconography. You've got it on 5 different pages of your rule book. Put it in one place that every player can have. And I don't even think it's fair to put it on the back of the rule book and hand it around. No, give me my own individual player aid. Drives me crazy. Yeah. My number 3, lack of player aids. Put them in there, publishers.
I have things to say in the upcoming future.
All right.
So my number 3 is not directed at Mike DiLisio, even though you are accused of this a lot, but I will take your back that I don't think you are this. But I think Cult of the New is an enemy to our gaming.
Absolutely Cult of the New. I'm guilty.
Do you really? I think you fall to the FOMO sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
You know you, though.
You do you, boo.
You do you, boo. But I think that Cult of the New is detrimental to the hobby and kind of an enemy enemy of gaming because sometimes this is my FOMO adjacent, if we will. Like you had your other one, your anxiety. I think that's kind of what this cult of the new. It's if you're always looking forward for what's going to be the next, what's going to replace what's going to give me that same initial feeling that I got, then it's really just kind of killing the games because you never get to, in my opinion, you never get to just sit down and enjoy a game.
Yep.
Have that just fun experience. It's always kind of just hope for what's to come rather than enjoying what you have right now. You know, and I think it leads to buying too many games, a lot of other problems, you know, and again, I'll point the finger at myself for that as well. But I think cult of the new, it's hard both as a person, like I said, as it leads to that anxiety and that kind of stuff, but also if you're not cult of the new, if you're in a play group that is, it just leads to that just kind of fatigue at the same time, like, can't I just enjoy a game I know or that I have? You know, and I think that can be a turnoff sometimes. It's like, no, I don't want to go to game day. I don't feel like learning a new game. You know, I don't want to see the new hotness. I want to see what the hotness was last week that I enjoyed. Or even now, I'm still discovering games that are 5, 6, 7 years old that it's like, wow, how come I've never heard of this before? This is fantastic. It's because we're so focused on the future, I think. So my number 3 is cult of the new.
It's hard, too, because people blame us, right? Because we cover new games. Inevitably, we do, right? There's this trade-off of when you run a channel like this, you want to be useful,
right?
You know, cover the recent stuff. We try. I mean, I'm glad that Tom does like a look back series to talk about older games. I'm glad that we do these occasional catch-up-paloozas and stuff. Yeah. They get noticeably fewer views.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just the reality of things. But we try our best to at least play some older games and have fun.
Yeah.
Too.
And again, I mean, to me, it's not new games aren't bad. You know what I'm saying? But it's just that cult where it's like that's all you know, and you kind of get stuck in that future instead of the now. You know, so. My
number 3 is this one's very high up there, but it's not going to be the highest thing. It's my number 3 is gatekeeping. Just any behavior that really puts people down. I've been trying really hard to think of like what is a sort of cohesive definition of what gatekeeping could be.
Okay.
And for me, I think it's making someone feel lesser or more inferior for enjoying something at the level they enjoy it.
Yes.
Right? Someone has watched the 3 Lord of the Rings movies. They're a Lord of the Rings fan. That's cool. I'm not going to say, oh, have you read the Silmarillion? Have you read Christopher Tolkien's, extra writings and stuff on what his dad really meant with something? No. Yep. You like those movies, you like those movies. Where I think that this kind of rears its face most often in our hobby is in like forums and like the Dice Tower Facebook group and whatnot. We try to really curb it in our Facebook groups and stuff. But like I get it, someone's been a member of these online forums for years and they're tired of seeing, hey, I just discovered Ticket Ride in Carcassonne. Any suggestions on the next game? Yeah, you've seen that post come up 100 times over the last few years. But it doesn't mean that you have to go in there and make that person feel bad for discovering 2 amazing games like Ticket Ride in Carcassonne. And saying, any other recommendations? That's not your job to go in there, be a smart aleck, make them feel bad. Right? Oh, I discovered this really neat game called Wingspan. Oh, let me tell you all about my thoughts on it. No, that's not what you're there to do.
Well, let me show you what the next step is.
Right.
They'll look for that when they're ready for it, if they are.
Right. Oh, you like Ticket Ride? That's cute. Yeah. Time to pull out the galleries. No, you know what I mean? It's once again just let people enjoy things at the level they enjoy it. Yep. And that's how the hobby grows naturally, rather than forcing someone to say, here's the next thing.
Right, yeah, exactly. I completely agree.
All right,
to be continued.
My number 3, gatekeeping.
My number 2 is a crossover with both of y'all.
What? Uh-oh. Y'all? You just y'alled me.
I did.
Children.
It is not children. My number 2 is, and I didn't even live further. I put sore winners and sore losers. Bad winners and bad losers. It is.
I didn't know we could do these. What?
You better believe it, baby.
What?
Animated
Oh, these failed me. See, failed.
So
I didn't get me.
Look, I think that this is maybe stating the obvious, but when your behavior is making other people around you miserable, you need to look in the mirror and adjust your behavior, okay? And it works both ways. I've seen bad winners are just as bad as bad losers, right?
Right.
Have some humility, have some grace, right? If you're a winner, don't make people feel like even worse. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I don't understand this idea. Now, look, if you're really good friends with people and you're kind of giving each other, that's different. I'm talking about, I've seen people that are learning a game and playing one with the first time with somebody, or even worse, they know the game really well,
yes.
and they're teaching it to new people, and then just proceed to elbow drop them and wreck them at every opportunity, and don't even teach the game well enough so that they know that this stuff is coming. That's a bad winner to me, right? It's like, how are you getting any enjoyment out of this? You've just crushed the souls of 3 other people.
Right.
Bad losers are also obvious. Being upset over everything, complaining. We've already tread this ground, but yeah, this is terrible.
I love what Monica said up there a minute ago. She said, are those who complain about the game while obviously winning.
Obviously winning, yes.
You know, or complain about their bad cards while they're obviously winning.
100%. That's
what are you
a perfect
doing?
example of that, yeah.
Why are you the way you are?
Being miserable about everything happening in the game and yet winning by 20, 30 points.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So frustrating. So frustrating. Yep. My number 2 is a crossover with Mike, as well as we talked about it in Smorgasbord this morning. Lack of player aid or some first game assistance. All right. So player aid. I love this. I hate that. I hate that you have to spend so much time in a rule book, which is going to happen first game, right? You need to get clarifications and that kind of stuff. But if that can be cut in half by a player aid, yes, maybe that's a card that you're having to provide me that I'm only going to use 2 or 3 times. But you know what? That means I played your game 2 or 3 times because I actually wanted to. You know, as opposed to that first play being so frustrating that I don't want to go back because I can't remember if this symbol is 2 coffee beans or if it's 3 coffee beans or if it's 15 coffee beans. You know, like, I mean, I hate that there's not a player aid, whether that assists in the flow of the game or whether that helps with the iconography or something. Help me with that first game. You know, where the other side of that is some sort of first game assistance where it's like a tutorial or how to play. That might not lead to the most exciting play of the game because it's been like tailored for you and tells you what to do, but it gets the game down to you understand the flow so you know and you want to come back and kind of spread your wings a little in this game and see what you can do. The first game has to sell it on me, and a big key part of that is giving me what I need to be able to enjoy the game. A player aid, a tutorial, something, so that I don't mind coming back to it. I spend less time in the rule book, and later on I don't mind teaching the game because I'm not having to explain all this stuff that I had to discover over the course of 4 games when 1 game would have worked.
And what you just said is, for me, ultimate proof that you need player aid. Even if you have a great tutorial system or whatever, put the player aid in there because not everyone's learning the game at the same time. I have this tendency to show games that I love to people, to teach them. You know what a good game teacher loves? A good player aid.
Right.
Hey, here's what the 6 different kind of strange symbols you'll typically see on the purple cards are.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
You know what you don't have to then do? Answer those basic questions for the rest of the game.
Right. And it's not my job to go to BGG to find a fan-made player aid. I'm sorry, you know the game. You made the game. You developed the game. That's on you. You.
Yep.
Utes. All right.
You already had the Utes. They were your number 10.
Did you just say Utes? My number 2 was Kickstarter bloat.
Okay.
We already addressed this so much. This is my number 2. That's how important I think that this is. Is that, I mean, look at that. Who has played that much Conan? I don't know anybody has, right?
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So everything that we said before about Kickstarter bloat, we're just putting it here. That's how high up I think this is, because its most detrimental thing is that it's making, I think, people who are back at games having less fun with those games.
Right.
That to me is one of the biggest enemies of gaming, only topped by one more thing. So that's my number 2 is Kickstarter bloat.
All right, well, not a lot of drama about what my number one is because this has been a shoe box that I've been climbing on for a long time.
That is what we would describe that as, shoeboxes.
Yes. My number one is bad rule books. This is, to me, so far above and beyond every other problem. This is, to me, the number one enemy of gaming. Look, creatives, publishers, designers, developers, I'm assuming that if you are taking the time and effort to put financial risk and time and thought and effort into creating a product, you want people to enjoy that product. You want people to have the best possible interaction with that thing you've created as possible. Do you know what the first interaction they're going to mostly have with that? It's your rule book. If your rule book is trash, they are not going to enjoy your game. They're not going to enjoy it. They may not even be able to play it. And I'm telling you, they're going to get so frustrated before they even take out the components. Oftentimes, they're going to be so frustrated, they're going to have no confidence that the experience that they would have is even true to what it's supposed to be.
Right.
This is such a basic and fundamental issue. It needs to be fixed because this is a problem across the board, right? It's to the point now where I am more surprised when I can learn a game straight from the rule book and don't have to refer to anything else. Not BGG, not Rodney Smith, who does an amazing job, not anything else. That, to me, surprises me now. It should not be like that. It should be the other way around.
Yeah.
Get your rule books right. Spend a little bit of money if you need to, and if it has to cost a little more, then we have to decide as a community if we're willing to spend that. But pay people, if you need to, that are professional at this. Because you know what? A good writer doesn't mean you're a good rule book writer. Absolutely. There's writing skills and there's technical writing skills.
Right.
And there's rule book writing skills.
Yes.
There are people in this hobby that do this for a living. It's a specialty of theirs. Get people that know how to write a rule book and then blind play test it so that you know that people can learn your game only from your rule book. It is not okay to expect them to go somewhere else.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
This drives me so crazy.
Amen. I mean, no sorries needed.
I have seen the same game with two different editions of rulebooks, like DLP, and then when, I forget if it was like Renegade or Capstone brought over one of those games, they redid the rulebook, and I would have trashed the game for the original rulebook.
Yep.
And I was told specifically, like, hey, hold on, there's a better rulebook in whatever company is like bringing it over.
Yeah.
And it's night and day difference. Like being able to actually read it and be like, I know how to play the game now.
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
exaggerating. That's a huge, important deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Absolutely. My number one is, again, a crossover with something, Chris, that you talked about. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but...
I like that you're like, it's a crossover. Well, actually...
I thought it was going to be the game story. I kind of went into that a little bit, but more it was the game shaming. So my number one is game shaming and intolerance of others' tastes. And I think, to me, this encompasses, again, a couple different things. Like this right here.
That's a great point.
Right? But I think that this is so detrimental to not recognize that people do have different tastes.
Yes.
And that's okay. It's okay that I really like nature games. And no, I'm not tired of them. It's okay to recognize that other people really like Marvel and you're not tired of them. That's fine. I'm a little fatigued of it. That doesn't make you loving it any less valid. You know what I mean? It doesn't make it any less valid that I'm excited about this game because I'm not over this. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so I just hate that everybody feels like they have, not everybody, sorry. I feel, I have seen more and more of this where people are having to take this stronger and stronger stance to make sure, that they are heard that, I'm tired of Marvel, I hate Marvel, I'm tired of nature games. It's like, then don't play the nature game. I don't know what to tell you, So it's just intolerance of that, as well as, like you were saying, intolerance of tastes. If the best game you have ever played, my best friend in the world, her favorite game of all time is Risk. And that's okay.
That's
Do I
awesome.
like
That's
Risk?
great.
I have very strong opposition to playing that game. But that doesn't make her less of a person or less of a gamer, or should definitely not make her less welcome in this hobby, because that is her favorite game. She's played other games with me. She's played Spirit Island with me, for heaven's sake. She still loves Risk. That's great. That's fantastic.
awesome,
and that's what we need. We need that variety. You know, if you love Monopoly, I don't care what Tom says. That's fine. You know, if you love Monopoly. But I just feel like this game shaming that, oh, you only like family games. You know, just quick story. There was a convention that we were at recently, and there was a guy there that we know. We see him at a lot of our conventions, that kind of stuff. And he came up to me. He's like, hey, my girlfriend is here. She's really, really intimidated. I get that. You know, she's really, really intimidated. She's not really a gamer. She doesn't have anyone to play with you. Would you mind playing a game with her? Yeah, of course I'd love to play a game. And she had one game that she wanted to play. I think it was Lucky Numbers or something like that. Is that it's called? Lucky Numbers. And she was so apologetic that she didn't have a real game. She's like, this is one I'm comfortable with. Can we play this game? Because I know it. I will teach you. She was willing to teach me the game to get me to play it. And I loved that. I was like, there's a place for that. Is it my cup of tea? No. But we, you know, later I saw her playing with somebody else, and then afterward I heard them, you know, kind of mocking it, and it made me so mad. I was like, that's her experience, and that's okay.
Of course it is.
It's okay that her best game of all time is Lucky Numbers. I'm so glad she's in the hobby. You know, so I just think this game intolerance and game shaming is just absolutely toxic for the hobby. And it's an enemy in gaming.
It is. Well said.
Well said. We could just end there. Yeah. I don't have anything more profound. No.
That's my shoebox. Shoehorn. That's my shoestring to
That's my
tie. What was it?
I think I said shoebox.
You said shoebox.
A shoebox.
How about your aglet? Your aglet, the nice little the plastic tip of your shoebox. Yeah. All right. My number one is now, after that whole rant, less profound sounding. But this is more on a personal level, right? I think yours is kind of people generally, right? This is more individually. So for me, my number one is the cult of the future mindset.
Okay.
Because I feel like in gaming in general, maybe this is just my perception working here more, right? Is that not only is there a cult of the new push, but at this point, it's kind of tilted into the cult of the future.
Sure.
We were talking about some of the games that we've reviewed recently that are hot games that have just come out. And there's very little discussion about it because there's too much discussion on the new game on Kickstarter. Enjoy what you have that just came in. Play the games that are actually real games now. Right? I get excited too. There's some games I'm really stoked about. The Scholars of the South Tigris. Ooh, I'm excited about that.
Sure.
That game could never come out. Right? Heaven forbid, New Zealand just falls off the planet and we don't have any more Garfield games. Well, that sucks, but I will survive. I'm going to pull a Gloria Gaynor and I'll survive. I don't need any new games for the rest of my life. I need them for this job, actually. So,
well, hold on, wait.
But on a personal level, I could be fine never backing another Kickstarter. I could be fine never buying a new game that came out post 2023, and I would still have so many games that I love and I love playing. I personally do love, seeking out new games, new play experiences and stuff. But I don't have to make that my whole mindset. My whole mindset of I'm not happy until this perfect new game comes out.
Right.
Unconscious mind, I'm stoked about it.
Yeah.
Very excited about it. And if I have the mindset of I will be happy when unconscious mind finally comes out, if I keep that mindset, there'll be a new shinier Kickstarter by the time that game delivers. And then I'll finally be happy when Twilight Imperium 5th edition comes out. And then by the time that comes out, you know what I mean? It's the same broad philosophical mindset that people say of you can't choose to be happy at a point in time.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to be happy now. You can't be happy when I own a house.
Right.
Well, I own a house now, but I really want a new refrigerator and kitchen set. So when I own that, I'll be happy. It's a trap.
Yep.
And that's what I think about this cult of the future mindset is that it's just a trap that makes you like gaming less.
But again, I mean, what I hear you saying is you're still not you're excited about things to come. This isn't, I don't want new games. I think we need to stop where we are. We're just saying when it's that cult, when it's that's everything that is all encompassing of the gaming experience.
Yeah.
You know, you're excited about things in the future. That's okay. That's great. Kickstarter's not bad.
Absolutely.
You know, that kind of stuff. Getting those games. It's just when that's all encompassing, that's all your focus. Yeah, it does kind of kill it.
And what I took from it is, it's a trap!
Yeah.
My Admiral Akbar. All right, well.
Red bunny ears?
No, those are his eyes, man. His eyes are up here.
Oh, okay.
And his eyes move independently of each other. It's a trap!
They also, undulate.
Yes.
Oh, do they? I like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, wow. We built up all of our excitement and
That was one of my
hopefully-
better therapy sessions.
Yeah,
I have
there
to
you go.
say.
That's right.
Yeah,
I feel like
I feel good.
we've learned something new about
I've grown as
ourselves.
a person in the last
We
hour and a half.
have.
Hour and a half.
indeed.
Yeah, that'll be
Thank you.
$7,000.
Yeah, right.
Exactly right.
Bill Tom.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming by for another Dice Tower Top 10. I don't think there's anything else live going up today, right? I think this is
Or this
Or
week.
this week.
or this
Anything
week.
else
This is the
tomorrow?
last.
Or next
and then
week.
next week, remember, we are going to be at Dice Tower West. So if you're coming there, we look forward to seeing you there. Come up and say hi, play games with us. We promise we will try not to be enemies. We will try to model good behavior
Yes.
as best as we can. But so
Be like Mike. Come learn next week.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. No pressure on me at all.
I want to bend it like Beckham.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm Mike DiLisio.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
Have fun being a hero of gaming.
A Marvel hero.
Ah, for the love.